Oh my god, this is the sweetest goddamn show. Like, this is legitimately one of the best cases of a father-daughter story that we've had in some time. There's always something weird with father-daughter stories anymore. Too many people want to call them daddy and not in the normal way. So as someone who's been absolutely loving Old Country Bumpkin ever since its first episode, in fact, I've only enjoyed this show more the longer it's gone on. Has there been some less than stellar animation as the show went on, like you see a lot of seasonal anime? Sure, of course, but the big star attractions, the sword set pieces, have been phenomenal. I mean, I continuously get people in my comments saying, hey, I studied so-and-so swordplay, or I showed my instructor, and they actually were very impressed by how they detail the realism of sword swings and stuff, and just different moves. It's not just random clashes, it's actually techniques, and that's always great. But there definitely has been some very dumb criticism, and really it feels like hate, because there, I've mentioned it before, how people are upset with the adaptation accuracy, but the people who are complaining about the adaptation accuracy aren't even complaining about the adaptation because it adapts the novel, right? I mean, it's fine to prefer a different version of the story. If you ask me, I prefer the anime to any other version because that's my preferred medium. But hey, like, yes, manga versions, anime versions, they're all going to be slightly different mediums. So it's okay to like the manga version more than the novel, but to say it's not an accurate adaptation when you only read the manga and then countless light novel readers say, yeah, they added a couple things here, but yeah, this is actually, this is how the light novel does it, kind of speaks for itself. But I didn't think we'd be able to stop the type of criticism we'd got. But over the past 2 weeks, I thought it was just going to be a one-off thing. But I'm getting more and more people bitching now about the voice acting, and you might be saying, what's wrong with the voice acting? The Japanese, I haven't seen a single person, but for some reason there's not one, but multiple people have been coming into my comment section and saying how AI sounding the voice acting is and how it's ruining it and they're gonna drop it. And when I say, what the hell are you talking about? It sounds like any other anime, and in general, the voice actors are good in the Japanese dubs. And they're like, no, we're watching in English. My brother in Christ, you don't have to watch in English if you don't enjoy it. Like, what is going on with the criticism in this show? We are getting some baffling takes, but there are, I get preferring, like, if you're just like, I prefer watching in English. But boy, you can read some subtitles and not cringe at the voice acting, because I did turn on the English dub. It's not very good, and yeah, it does sound kind of AI sounding, I ain't gonna lie. But the Japanese dub is right there. Anyway, so I very much enjoyed this latest episode of Old Country Bumpkin. Anytime Mue and Beryl get any father-daughter moment, it warms the goddamn heart. And they start this episode off twofold. Beryl drops and cracks one of his mugs that he drinks out of. So immediately you knew she was going to get him a new mug or fix it or do something cute. I was expecting for a birthday or a Father's Day, I don't know, some sort of gift. And we also established that while she's getting all the things she needs for school, she's not getting extra things, which makes sense. I mean, they're saying, hey, we're going to loan you the textbooks and anything you need for school. If you don't damage it, return it. Obviously, there's probably going to be no charge, but if you do, it's kind of a you break it, you buy it policy. However, certain more luxury items like a knapsack or anything like that, yes, she wasn't given that, but she thinks, hey, I got this burlap sack, it works just fine. So you knew damn well my boy was going to hook her up with a bag. And to be honest, I kind of thought they were going to build into him getting not like a shit bag, but a lot more simplified bag, and maybe he'd feel guilty like it wasn't good enough and she'd just be jumping for joy. I thought it was adorable that he got the expensive bag, and I think it's fantastic, but she probably would have given that same reaction if it was any sort of bag. But I love the fact that he went out of his way. He went out of his way to pick up an extra job just so he could give his girl a better bag. Like, this man, without growing up, having a daughter he just instinctively had father mode in him. And I just thought it was so adorable that they exchanged gifts. She's like, hey, when I'm at school, you'll have to do all this stuff by yourself. So if there's anything that I can do to help relieve stress, such as give you a more, like, apparently it'll taste better out of that mug. It's adorable as hell. And I love the fact that it's such a simple moment at the very end, but they kickstart this episode off setting the building blocks there, and then when he hears how, like, 95,000 or whatever, however much gold they say. And while I don't know the currency exchange in this world, I have to imagine that was several hundreds, if not like $1,000 in equivalent to our money. Because You have to imagine, a lot of people in this world probably can't even afford bread every single day of the week for dinner. So you have to assume bags are considered more of a rich person luxury, and the simplified ones probably would take your average family many a months to save up for, right? Unless you're like, a talented adventurer and you got some more pocket change. So I love the fact that he went out of his way, did that job, which was essentially, it's like when you play Zelda and you're catching different horses and you had to go get the legendary white mount. And this thing, it was saucy, it was spicy, and I love the fact that it just immediately warmed up to Barrel after Barrel pulls out his new god sword, cuts down a tree with one slice, and then we cross the river and now it's like bonded to him for life. I hope we get to see more of that horse. I know it went back with the guild, but still, a man can hope, because that was some pretty adorable energy. And I wasn't sure exactly what our girl meant when she's like, oh, you got a surprise wedding back home. I thought to myself, maybe she knew about the bag and she, hooked them up. I thought it was so much better because he went out of his way to use his hard-earned money to get her something that, he could have splurged on himself. He could have done so much with that money. Instead, he went out of his way to get the best damn bag, which shows how much he loves and cares for her. And the fact that she went out of her way to give him such a precious, thoughtful gift, it's adorable as hell, man. And then by the end of the episode, we got another student, we got the little rivalry, but we already knew we could have introduced no new students, former students that is. We could have introduced 15 more, and no matter what, people are gonna get mad jealous. But our boy, he's in dad mode, and that's his number one priority, and I absolutely love it. He actually has a really solid life going on right now when you think of it. He has a very comfy home, tasty food every day of the week. He has a job he seemingly enjoys. He has a daughter who's basically worshipping the ground he walks on. And to be honest, all things are kind of turning up Barrel. The funniest thing is that this show started with basically parents pushing themselves a little too much into their son's life, saying, go get us grandkids and get the hell out. But then again, he was 45 years old. Should he still be living with his parents? I get in different economies, living with your parents longer is, fine, but 45's pushing it if you ask me. And the idea that he now has said grandkid, but I don't think he's told his dad. Maybe his dad would be more upset because he also doesn't have a wife, so maybe he has to wait for that too. I don't know. But either way, very enjoyable episode. Some weird criticism still, to say the least, towards the show. And if I can't make it any more clear. If you don't like the voice acting in the English dub, turn on the Japanese dub. You don't have to force yourself to watch that garbage. And I like a lot of English dubs. But yeah, this is one of the worst English dubs I've heard in some time, and it very well could be AI, but don't force yourself to watch that. You don't have to do that to yourself. That's just suffering for no reason. Your thoughts down below. What did you think of this latest episode? I definitely thought production-wise, definitely one of the more choppy, visually looking ones, but the actual narrative was a very fun slice of life and one of the best, if not the best, father-daughter moments. So, your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell so you can notify when I upload more, and hey, we also have the Patreon where we got those full live reactions over there exclusively, and while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout-out. Alright, so today we got James Reinhardt, Abraham Valquitz, Marsh, Hunter D. Lupin, Cosmonetto 140, Zeno, Yuki Ali, Zython, Rogue Knight, Pranay Sumshwar, and we also have Darian Smith. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You'll have a good one.